And so let's share.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless us this afternoon. We give thanks for all of that you've given us. We ask that you embrace us in this moment as we learn another chapter in Living Spring. So be it.
So be it.
All right. So this one is titled, Can You Go? And it says, Come unto me, Jesus. Matthew 11:28. Believers, hearken to the Master's call, heeding his blessed constellation. Spiritual instructors repeat it in order to communicate vibrations of spiritual comfort to their listeners. So I'm thinking that he's saying here for the people to remind people that to come unto Jesus. That's what it sounds like to me. Everyone listens to the word of Christ, who invites the troubled mind and the tormented heart to seek his refreshing embrace. Now, troubled mind and troubled hearts. Well, we all been there. We know what that feels like. And listening, when you hear the call, that was the first part of it. And I think we've all had an opportunity where we feel that God is calling us to be of service to, even if it's just to one person, or calling us to come and embrace the words of Jesus. I think I know at certain times of my life, I would just wake up and one day it was like, oh my God, I need to learn more about who Jesus is and why, but I couldn't read the Bible very well. I mean, I could, the these and thems and the those. And then I also thought that now that I've had more time to think about it, I think it has a lot to do with the version of of the book, of the Bible that I was reading. Because different people put their own twist on it, and they have different authors on different books, right? And so, and I think whoever's writing oftentimes put their own thought there. You know what I mean? And that happens even with other books that people write. But in this instance, come unto me, and I'm thinking, he's talking about when your heart is hurting, when you've gone through a lot of difficulty, you should come unto him. And that makes sense. And usually if we have a strong, difficult moment in life, whether it's a loss of your home, a loss of a car, a death in the family, a loss of something important, or you're real sick, that's the time I think we turn to the divine grace. We're thinking of even Mother Mary, whoever comes across our hearts or our mind, we're asking or begging for help. And that, I think, is when we're really most sincere about asking for divine help. Any comments?
I agree with that. And there's a very, very famous work of music called The Messiah that is played every year at Christmas. And what it was, there is a piece, let's see, the man who wrote the words he lost his brother. So he went through the Bible, and all the words that he chose were out of the Bible and about redemption and comfort. Mm-hmm. And so Jesus is called the Great Counselor. And there is a song that says, come unto me, all ye that labor, come unto him. So basically, in a time of comfort or a time of needing comfort, that's where to turn. That is what the presence and the loving presence can do and is for. So
Yeah.
come unto him. Yep.
And and I think a lot of times we go through these troubles of hardship and suffering to put our hearts and minds back on Jesus or on God. You have something you want to say, Sheila, or add?
Yeah, I'm thinking about what you guys are saying. And I also think that part of this is also to give over whatever trouble that you can't handle and ask Jesus, Supreme Being, or the Holy Spirit for guidance, because they'll have the better answer if you can't handle something. Because I'm reading some of these lines where you're discouragement and you isolate, and that's usually when you're feeling down. Instead of opening up, you close down.
Exactly.
And sometimes it gets worse because you do that instead of giving it up and over, knowing that you can't handle it, and just say, I don't know what to do here. I need some help.
Right. Well, you went, oh yeah, that's true. And I think that, well, let's read it, rest of it, for those who will come into this later. However, if it is easier to hear and repeat the Lord's come unto me, how difficult the go to him is. Here, the master's words are poured out like vitalizing balm, but the bonds, immediate gratification, are just too strong. There, the divine invitation is heard amidst promises of renewal for the redemptive journey. But the poison of discouragement, this is what she was talking about, isolates the spirit behind its yielding bars. And yeah, a lot of times people do get discouraged because they want instant gratification. They want whatever is going on. If I call you right now, Jesus, I need to see what's going on right now. I need the situation resolved right within the next 5 to 10 minutes.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
No, sometimes you're not going to get an answer for a day or two. Sometimes you're not going to get an answer at all. Or sometimes you're going to get an answer a couple of weeks later of a glimpse of something that you could have done differently, or an answer to where you need to go next.
Or the healing, if you, or the, and it's sad because you think that you haven't been heard. And we don't realize that Jesus knows what's best. We're not looking at that aspect. We're not looking at what he's holding out on, or not giving you this instant gratification and right away is not teaching you something. And most people, especially adults who have children, know that you don't spoil no one. You don't give them into a demand, which is rude in the first place. And then secondly, you ask for the first time, and all of a sudden you think, the world should stop for you, or Jesus should part the clouds and come and help you. It doesn't work like that. Everything is work in progress. We have to be more mindful of everything in our lives, our behavior, like the 10 Commandments, for instance. Following them is a good head start, right? And knowing that you're doing your best every day with God is your background, and your intention is to please God, then that makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference, as opposed to, you never praying, and then all of a sudden you just want God to be there. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, so let's see what else. Where was I? Oh, yonder the call of the Most High soothes the sorrow of disillusion, a disillusioned soul. but breaking free from the obstacles comprised of people and things, situations, and seemingly pressing private interests and is almost impossible. You know, breaking free from the obstacles, meaning, you know, people giving you their advice, they're turning you away from your prayer, or giving you an idea that isn't in harmony with your peace of mind, even, you know. That's how I'm reading that.
I think it
And
also, does it also say that breaking free from obstacles comprised of people and things, it don't do it for your own private interests, you know what I mean? Don't help me win $1 million, you know, Lord, that sort of thing. I think that it's saying,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good
So
point. Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of just
I like
your own
Yeah. 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 That's personal and private. You're right. And yeah, and a lot of people, because a lot of people I think have a lot of interest in the material world, not putting a lot of interest or study or even understanding that this is temporary. No matter how you look at it, there's nobody here that's, you know, been here forever. I think Methuselah was oldest at one time, but people are living longer. But we all got to go at one point or another. And it's, I mean, to me, it's like important to try and find out where you got to go, you know. And by the way, for those who's listening, my name is Regina. It's not Kiki. I'm just using her sign in. All right, so Jesus, our Savior, opens his loving, compassionate arms to us. A life focused on him becomes enriched with imperishable values. And in the shade of his heavenly teachings, we press onward through sanctifying toil towards our universal homeland. Well, yeah, we do. We have to keep pressing forward no matter what is in front of us or what we have to go through. Oftentimes, I see what happens is when people are going through hardship or hard times, they give up. They will definitely quit. And because, you know, again, it's that instant gratification. And I'm sure, you know, we've all questioned when we've gone through something extremely difficult at one time or another. We question whether or not we were even being heard. You know I have. Have you guys experienced any of that?
Oh yeah, but the thing too, Regina, is what I'm looking at is a lot of times when people quit, it's right before they have their turnaround. Sometimes, and others, you know, they stayed the course and they've had the turnaround.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with hope. If they lose hope, because if you lose hope, that's a big one in a spirit.
True. Val?
I think it's really so that I know in my own case when I'm feeling bad and confused, or I can't get an answer for things, I tend to isolate myself and try to go within to figure out what the heck is going on. And I've been doing a prayer asking the heavenly source and the heavenly being to help me to understand and solve whatever it is that's in front of me. Because using my intellect, I can beat myself up because I can't come up with answers just through the intellect. So it really means to go within and to, as was said earlier, surrender myself to my heart and to my connection, to my spiritual connection. So yeah, there's nowhere to go but in.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
go within to the temple within your being and get your answers. And
Yeah.
I've given up at times, and then a lot of times just the giving up the desire and the wanting, it allows the releasing of the energy allows something new to come or allows something to come in. So I totally agree with you. Is it Sarah? I'm sorry, was that her name? The other woman? Sheila. Hi, Sheila. So yeah, I
Hi.
do agree. People give up too early. Yes, hi, Sheila.
Mhm, mhm. You know,
But
and I think,
sometimes,
go ahead.
do you ever feel forsaken?
Oh, I have. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
felt like, you know, like I'm the only one sitting on this planet sometimes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be discouraging, but again, you know, you have to, like you say, you sit and you meditate, or you have to.
You have
You
to.
have to go within to find out what's going on. And I do find that when I meditate, I do feel better.
Me too.
And
Definitely.
when I do, and I feel better when I go to the sunrise. I just keep pressing on because you don't know if it's a trial. You don't know if it's a shadow, you know, some being talking in your head, trying to confuse you or discourage you. Because we have enemies living and we have enemies that are not living. So you just
Mhm.
never know. And you just have to keep pressing forward. And you know, and our hearts are always trying to do what's best when we're in that moment, you know, we're trying to
Mhm.
seek that help out, you know. And
I agree.
the only thing they're left to do is prayer, in my opinion, you know, to try and pray. And then,
Right.
and I think this is why they're saying, listen to the words of Christ, who invites the troubled mind, if you're mentally and physically feeling down or discouraged about life and wondering what's going on. That's the time he's inviting us to, I guess, find a quiet moment and pray and meditate. And another thing too, in one of the other chapters that we were reading, he was saying that a lot of times people don't understand what Christ is saying because, and the way to understand, he's saying, is to meditate on his words, you know, and that will help with understanding. And I remember when my son was ill and I couldn't figure out what I had done or what was going on. And I mean, to tell you, I prayed day in and day out. I was afraid and, you know, and that was all I could do. And they said sometimes when you pray, and you go to bed, the next morning when you wake up, you feel refreshed and all of that trouble is not on you. That means you were consoled throughout the night. And because that happened, that has happened many times. I went to bed, I mean, in a state that was terrible, even though I was still praying in the bed. And just finally I fell asleep. But when I woke up in the morning, I never even thought about what my problems were. It wasn't until later and I would think about it and then it would come back, but it still didn't have the same impact because the spirits had been working with me to educate my mind on whatever it was, the consoling, and it helps. It really does help. So I'm definitely a witness to that. And when I read across that a while back in one of these books, I totally remember because my son was demonstrating odd behavior. I think it was early as 7 and 6, but 10, it really just started blooming. And I'm like, what in the world? And they said there was really nothing that they could do at that age, they could second guess. They said, but sometimes they grow out of certain behaviors and what have you, but it was disturbing to everybody else around, even the teachers, but anyway, finally, we understand what's going on. So, and I'm grateful to know now. But like I said, it can be really hard on the heart. And often, we may not even want to ask for help because of shame or pride. So that's another issue, within itself.
Mhm.
Sheila.
That must have been really hard. Must have been really awful when you don't know what's wrong with your child. Must be just.
Yeah, it was
they're
bad.
not, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
so,
it's when my cat's sick, I can't handle it. Let alone a kid.
anything that tugs on your heart, anything.
Mhm.
My one of my sons had a dog, and I didn't want a dog in my house, but what can you do? It was a puppy. You can't leave the puppy outside in the cold. Anyway, I kept stepping on these puddles and the floor being wet. I said, this is odd. It ain't raining. And looking at the ceiling to see if I had a hole in the ceiling. I didn't know why my rug was wet in different places until I saw he hid it from me for the longest. I don't know how he did it, but he did for the longest. And finally, one day I saw the puppy. I said, you mean to tell me I'm stepping in piss all this time all over my rugs and all over my house? I'm like, oh Lord, kids, they do the darnest things. But anyway, what can you do? You have to forgive them and keep moving. Anyway, yeah, so again, I did have a lot of shame about it because I wasn't around anyone else who was going through what I was going through. So, but now I know more about it and I'm not ashamed. Any shame or pride about it. So life will teach you. That's all I can say.
Yeah, whether you like it or not.
It'll push you to learn.
Uh,
Okay. All believers may hear his consoling appeal, but very few show themselves to be valorous enough. What's that word? Valorous?
Valorous, yeah.
Valorous enough in the faith to go in search of his company. What is that word, valorous? I don't know that
To
word.
be, it means strong and valiant and like a warrior.
Kind of like of
To
a
have
warrior.
courage. Yeah, to have
Yeah.
courage. To have courage, to be valiant, courage.
Mm.
It's the beginning of my name, Valerie. Valiant means the same. No, seriously, it does.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it is.
It's true. Yeah. So you have no excuse. You have to be courageous.
That's right. And I'm a chicken sometimes, but yes, I do. It's in my namesake.
All believers may hear his consoling appeal. So that is, come unto me, those who are troubled and have a troubled mind, he's inviting. Okay, so that's the consoling appeal, I think.
Mhm.
And what oh.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. I said, I was agreeing. I think that
Okay.
is the appeal.
He said, but very few show themselves to be valorous enough in faith to go in search of his company. Keyword, go and search. Yeah, so we do have to search out our own. We have to search out and be vigilant about the answers we want. So if we have questions about what it is that Jesus came to teach us, because it's layered like an onion. And I think I think that a lot of spiritual books, not just the Bible, are just a peel from the onion. You know, there's all these different layers because spirituality has so many facets. You got the clairvoyant, you got and well, it's all part of being a medium, but you have the trans mediums, you have those in the different aspects of mediumship, you know, that have been teaching us more by these different books that have been channeled to read about exactly what happened back in those days, more of the truth of Jesus's story and his of his words and what he meant. I mean, different people are expressing from their mediumship the meanings of the Bible, actually, and they're unveiling the layers of what Jesus is talking about in the Bible. And I think that's and is absolutely fascinating to read about. And I think the most fascinating thing that we've heard all the time, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Well, I was reading in Emmett Fox's book where he says, if people really knew that every single thing they did to another person was going to come back to them, they would be a lot more careful and not just blow it off and be very passive about that boomerang effect, you know. And I thought about that, and I think that's very real.
I would also say, mind your thoughts, pay attention to what your thoughts say and catch yourself. Because that's what I've been paying attention to lately. I'm like, oh, pay attention to those thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. Because thoughts have vibrations as well. And you can easily pass a negative vibe to another person. This is why he was saying, when you're forgiving another person, you don't wish them no ill, even from your thoughts. And a lot of times people forgive, but they forgive with their mouth and not their heart.
Well, I agree with you, but sometimes they have to go in and forgive them, and they have to go back and forgive themselves for their actions, and then go back and forgive them again. I think it's more than one on that one.
Yeah.
What is it? 170 times 7? Forgive your brother, forgive yourself, which is what, 144,000 or something like that. That's how many times you keep forgiving.
Yeah, it's 7 times 70.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And the point being too, as you were saying, that if you're carrying all that with you, it's in your vibration, it's in your frequency, it would clog your connection if you're to your own, to the higher source. If you are dragging around a bunch of anger or resentment or punishing yourself for your own behavior. So it's you know, one thing I used to like about the Catholic Church in concept was that you'd go to confession and then they'd say, okay, say these prayers and don't do it again, you know, go and sin no more, which is a really cool thing, you know, to release and let go and start again and start anew. So,
you know, thanks, Val, you know, because that does give you a different perspective on it. And also it's another level of appreciation of what another entity does, you know. And it's like the more we learn, the more we open up to what other people have actually been doing. I think that's amazing. Yeah, I never thought confession was the way to go, but until I started reading and being more into spiritism, and now I have an amazing appreciation for what they do, you know.
Well, the other thing is that when they say the rosary, the rosary is another one that you end up clearing your space on a whole nother level.
Cool.
I don't know what the rosary is. I know what the necklace is, the rosary, right? That's the actual rosary. But
Yeah, but there's a whole
prayers.
thing. There's a whole thing to it. Yeah.
You say prayers, and each one of the beads, I believe, if I got it correct, it goes through one of the stations of the cross. If that's what Jesus's life or something, is that true?
That's true.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That, and you go through, so you kind of relive it and clear that you use it as a metaphor or an allegory for your own life and of what you've been through, and so you're asking for release, I think, from tribulation. Like I said, I don't know it completely, but I
No, it is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what I was going to interject was I also do when I feel really stressed out, and doesn't matter if I've run my energy and if I've done my prayers. Sometimes I go to bed with Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
please forgive me, I love you, and I thank you. And it's all I do is I play that while I go to sleep.
Yeah, that's good to do too. Yeah. That's very good to do, for sure. Wow. But a lot of people though, well, some of us don't, we wait until we're in severe need to really pray. And but I think with prayer, it's good to pray every day, throughout
agree.
the day. Yeah. And that way you caught up, so to speak. So when you really are in desperate need, you feel more comfortable about your prayer being heard because you always pray,
That or the situation doesn't feel as overwhelming.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In some instances, it doesn't feel as overwhelming as it used to feel, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't
And
know
if
if I'm saying that right.
No, I think you're very clear. Yeah, it's if you keep your connection going, then I know that I feel like I can drop things if I'll stop and tune in and say my prayer or to consciously connect to the higher powers and your mentors and your teachers. It's relief, because you're raising your frequency consciously.
Mhm.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, wow. Very good.
Hey, your package is gonna be there by Saturday, by the way,
Okay.
miss.
Everyone listens to the words of Christ, who invites the troubled mind. I hope everybody is listening to that. All right, so let's see. All believers may hear his consoling appeal, but very few show themselves to the valorous enough in the faith to go and search for his company. In short, it is very pleasant to hear the "come unto me." I think that's comforting because you're not alone. You're not alone on this planet. You're not, and someone is bigger than you, knows that you're here. And you know that you can go beyond where you are for help or to seek help. I think that's really, really huge. Gus, you've been mighty quiet. You have anything you want to add?
Not right now, but I am very familiar with the Ho'opono method, and I did have a question on that. I don't know, I can't remember who it was that was talking about it, but what about the part that says "I'm sorry"? I heard that it's not good to say "I'm sorry" in that part, because I believe it was like "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you."
Well, here's the reason why you're saying you're sorry, but if it's sorry from your heart, if you really mean it, it's a healing balm to the spirit that you've offended. So, and that's what you want to put your attention on, is for anyone's heart who hurts behind something you said or did to them in this life or in another life. And they don't, and you have to remember, not all have the same level of education in spirit as you may have. And so for them to hear from your heart that you are truly sorry, it makes a difference. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. I love you doesn't mean that you love them like you do your mother, your father, your brother, or your children. It means I'm sorry, I'm loving you from the, and I will not do anything to hurt you, not even give you a negative thought. And that's where we were talking about the thought and how powerful that thought is. And it's the same vibe in which you, if your heart is open and really means that you're sorry, this being who's vibing or listening around you is going to feel that I'm sorry. Please.
Not only that, you're also saying hello to the oneness of that being. So it's your oneness is saying hello to the oneness.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's the intention behind what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I saw an accident. I said it so much that I saw an accident, and then really quick, my first thought was just, I didn't even think. It just came out. I just said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Because I believe that is what we saw, that that was something that we brought to reality. I don't know, something like that. That's why I believe we say, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Like when you see a bad movie or something, and they're doing something bad in there, and you
Mhm.
say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. In other words, for us seeing it, kind of like, well, we brought that into reality, and we're kind of excusing them for their not sins, or yeah, kind of like their sins, and us for bringing it about, because I don't know, I can't really explain it. It's kind of hard.
It
I
kind of
understand
sounds
what
like I think you're speaking about the fact that we interconnect on, on a level, and what you experience as a part of your thinking,
kind
or what you've attracted into your world. So you
kind of
are an
like taking
experiencer.
ownership, kind of like taking
Yeah,
ownership.
right, right. No, I do understand that.
Got it.
I had I had to look at who I was carrying resentment for and to in my life, and I was doing the Ho'oponopono. And I had a problem at first, saying, I'm sorry to them, when it was they that I felt had done me wrong. But the point is, I'm sorry I was ever a part of it to begin with, or that there was lack of love or lack of understanding. So it doesn't even have to be on a personal thing. It can be on a level of, you are another, you and I are one on some level. And to release, you release on both ends, to let it go.
Yeah.
You forgive yourself. Would have to forgive myself for resentments I was carrying, or felt that wrongs that I had done, or any blame that I had given. So it did take me a while to wrap my mind around, if I felt like I hadn't done anything to them, but I was being mistreated. But I was there, or I'm the object of it, so it involves me. So I'll forgive myself and them also. So I mean, that's how I handled that. But I understand.
Mhm.
Got it.
Mhm. So hopefully that helps you, Gus. All right, so here we go. In short, it is very pleasant to hear the come unto me. However, can you truthfully say that you can go? What do you feel? Can you go unto Jesus? Do you feel comfortable going in search of his teachings, and not just get his teachings from one source? There's many, many areas.
Mm-hmm.
I often think about spiritism like a child. There's a lot of growing, you know. There's a lot of growth in it. It's just, and what I mean by when I say spiritism, I'm saying anything that's just beyond, that's a different vein other than the Bible, you know, that teaches more about why we're here, where we're going when we're no longer are in this dense body. I think that is paramount to living, really, you know, and it's unfortunate that we don't embrace talking more about these spirits that are walking the planet, or where are we going once we no longer have the body? Is there really life after the body? You know, there's more. I just think it needs to be more commonplace. Really, I do. But
Yeah,
that's
as a country in general and culture, we don't want to deal with death or what's happening afterward. And so I agree. We need to be more conscious, aware, and read and find out, or ask, or because I think it was the Essene Jews that believed that we only have one life, but it's eternal. So you keep going and going. You're never, you're not ever destroyed. It's only the body that is destroyed, or the body that falls away, and the spirit continues. So and it's kind of the underpinning of many religions or philosophies. But again, it's we have the culture has a fear of death.
Yeah. I can't recall where it was that I read or heard or whatever, but I don't know how true it is, but I hear that I heard that when back in the day, when when they found out that there's life after death, and that you will come back and you will be treated the way that you treated others, that they didn't want to hear of it. And actually it was brought up when it was about slavery, and that the slave masters would come back and be a victim of being a slave. And they said, oh, hell no, we're not having that here. We don't want you to bring that. No, we ain't talking about it. And that's one of the things that I heard. But we know that slavery is all over the world. It's not just here. But I just felt that was an interesting little tidbit, and it could possibly be true. You know, they got cut off because you know how they were about telling the truth back in the day. Old folks.
Or even in this day, about the plight.
You're right, right.
Yeah.
So any more thoughts before we close? No? Somebody want to do a closing prayer for us right quick?
Sure.
Oh, thank you, Bella.
Okay. Dearest Heavenly Father, the loving spirits from the heavenly source, thank you for this moment of coming together, sharing ideas, thoughts, spirit, love, kindness, and expansion. It is with a grateful heart that we have joined together, and with love and kindness, we close our meeting this evening with gratitude and love and great thanks. We close. Amen.
Thank you. And so be it. Thank you so much.
So be it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
I'm glad